All right, good morning, guys, and welcome to Opinion Writing Instruction Day number 5. All right, so as always, we want to go ahead and quickly review the steps in the writing process before we get started. Step number 1 is to attack the prompt. As always, you have to figure out what type of writing you're doing. Step number 2, we always want to read the articles and form a thesis statement. Step number 3, all about the planning process. That is where we, after we create that thesis statement, begin planning from the top with a topic sentence, which is in the form of a hook statement, background, and then go ahead and add the thesis that you've already created to your writing plan. Now, as always, I want to first kind of remind you guys of what we've already done. So in our last instructional day for writing, you guys watched me finish up planning for my body paragraph number 2. Remember? So the question is, after completing your planning for body paragraph number 2, what's next? Because remember, we paused the instruction and then you guys were supposed to go in and you were supposed to do exactly what you saw me do. You were supposed to create your planning for body paragraph number 2. Now, before we move forward, if you have not gotten to the point to where you have completely planned your body paragraph number 2 because you either came into the class late or you just have not done the work, you need to go back to the online classroom and you need to review all of the writing videos. They are still there. I never delete those posts. Okay. So we have a writing video for each part. We have one for creating a thesis first. We have one for topic sentence, one for background. We have a video for planning body paragraph number 1. And of course, the last video we had was for planning body paragraph number 2. So if you have not done all of those steps so far, you want to stop right now and go back and get that done. Okay. Another note is that you want to make sure that you are actually writing all of these pieces down on a piece of paper, even though you're turning them in online to me, because you're going to need that writing plan eventually when you get ready to turn in your actual draft. All right. So now that that's said, that brings us to what's next. Well, first of all, let's review our writing plan so we can decide what the next step is. We know that we've already completed everything down to body paragraph number 2. I did that on my writing plan, which is about bike sharing programs. You guys were supposed to do that on your writing plan, which is about snakes. So we did the introduction, we did body paragraph number 1, and we did body paragraph number 2. So now it is conclusion time. It's time for us to plan out the final stage on our writing plan before we start writing the actual essay. So what do I need to write in the conclusion on my writing plan? Well, that's simple. It says right here, we need to restate your thesis. So it's a restatement of your thesis statement, but you need to do it in a different way. There are a few ways to do that. All right. One way is you can use synonyms to replace some of the words in your thesis. Another way, you can break your thesis statement into 2 different sentences and say the same thing you said in your thesis, but just in a different way. And another way, you can just kind of reword it. You can word it differently. You don't have to even try to use the synonyms or anything. You can just make that same point just in a different way. So how do we do it? Well, let me review my thesis statement and kind of play around with some different ways I can restate my thesis to add it to my conclusion. So here's my thesis statement. It says, in my opinion, bike sharing programs are a good idea for neighborhoods because they are helpful and they bring positive changes. First, I'll remind myself of the different ways I can do this, all right? In the previous slide, we talked about 3 different ways to do it. The first way said you can use synonyms to replace words in your thesis. Here is an example of that. So I just took out a few words and put in words that meant the same or somewhere similar. So remembering this is a conclusion, so I want to begin or start out with a phrase that lets my reader know that this is the final stage in my paper. So I start out by saying, in all, I think bike sharing programs are awesome for communities because they are useful and bring beneficial changes. So here, the word useful is a synonym for helpful. Beneficial is a synonym for positive changes. So slightly reworded there using synonyms. Another way is to actually break your thesis statement into 2 different sentences and say the same thing you said in your thesis, just in a different way. Here's an example of that. Again, I want to start out with a statement or phrase, that lets my reader know that this is the end of the road. This is the end of my essay. So this time, instead of kind of like summing it up, because I said in all in my first try here, but this time I'm going to say in conclusion. So it says, in conclusion, I think bike sharing programs are extremely helpful to people. As we can see, they also brought about good changes all around. So here, I took my first point, right? And I made that one sentence. I think the bike sharing programs are extremely helpful to people. Then I took my second point, my second reason in my thesis, and made that, or stretched it out and made it a sentence in itself also. That's why I said, as we can see, they also brought about good changes all around. Same thing, just in a different way. And this time, instead of making it one actual compound sentence, I made it 2 separate sentences. The last way to restate a thesis, is to just simply word it in an entirely different way. You know how you can say something in the same way, but you can say the same thing, but you just say it in a totally different way. Here is a totally different way. So this says, finally, I believe these programs are the absolute best for neighborhoods. Why? Well, not only do they provide the assistance people need to get back and forth to work with little cost, but they also bring forth change that is a true benefit to people. All 3 of these ways would work. They are all kind of like summary statements. And a summary statement is basically a restatement of your thesis. Because remember, your thesis drives your entire paper. So when you restate that thesis, you're ending your paper off and you're kind of summing up everything that you've already written about or said in your paper. Now, you have to make a choice. Just like I would have to make, I have to make a choice, and you're going to have to make a choice. So in looking at the different tries, I think after my 3rd try, I like the last one a little bit better. So here is my completed plan for my essay. I have my introduction, body paragraph number 1, body paragraph number 2, and then there is my conclusion, right? So everything is done on my writing plan, and I am now ready to write my actual essay because I've done all of my planning. Now, I know we did all this planning in pieces, but it was just to show you guys how to do each part. And now that you know how to do the restatement of the thesis, should be easy. All right, so now it's your turn to do the exact same thing. Here's your assignment. You're going to return to your own writing plan about snakes, then complete the conclusion portion of your writing plan by using one of those 3 ways we just discussed during the lesson today to rewrite your thesis. Here's a quick reminder of those 3 ways. They're right here. So if you need to rewind backwards and look at those 3, please make sure you do so. You want to write down or try out at least 3 and then choose the one that sounds the best at the end. Okay? Now, go ahead, once you've done that and you've tried at least 3 ways, go to the assignments tab, click on the form, and complete your work. Because next week we're going to begin writing our actual essay. So make sure that you are exactly where we are by Monday. All right? All right. Good. I would wish you guys good luck. You don't need it. All you need to do is write. So happy writing. Happy Thursday. See you guys in our class meeting.